Hi, Dr. Joanne. So just give us 2 minutes. I would like to give the introduction. So before you start your presentation, just give us 2 minutes, okay?
Okay, thank you.
The inconvenience, Dr. Joanne. How are you?
Fine, how are you?
I am good, thank you. So before you start your presentation, so I would like to give a brief introduction about you for the audience. So, so ladies and gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor and excitement that I welcome to the stage an incredible individual whose influence has touched the life of many around the globe. So, Dr. Joanne White, an international multiple number one best-selling author, speaker, and consultant, is not only a recognized goodwill global ambassador but also a beacon of inspiration for those seeking transformation in their lives. So, Dr. Y's journey is nothing short of remarkable. With a background in teaching children with special needs and serving as an executive director, she has dedicated her life to empowering individuals and businesses to achieve greater health, success, and fulfillment. Known as the Success Doc, Dr. Joanne White is here to share her transformative insights, teaching us how to overcome adversity and turn challenges into opportunities. As the CEO of Dr. Joanne White Consulting Services LLC, she continues to build unified teams, create success, and advocate for meaningful causes. It's an absolute pleasure to have her with us today, and we eagerly anticipate the wisdom she will share as our distinguished speaker. So, please join me in welcoming the incredible Dr. Joanne White. So, that's really a great introduction. So,
Thank
you can start.
thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And it's so important to talk about how we are as leaders. And women do have a little bit of a leadership edge. And I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. But a little bit about me. I used to be an executive director and learned a lot for a large, comprehensive community, educational, residential community, as well as working with not only the leaders, the managers, but also with the people there who were serving children and adults and youth with special needs. So let's talk a little bit about what this means in terms of the leadership edge. Okay, I'm going to share my PowerPoint. I thought you were going to do it. So, really important is to recognize that as leaders, firstly, it's important to recognize the people that are part of our community, that are here to help other people. And it's so important to make sure that we value them and show them what's important. So, one of the ways that I'm going to introduce this today is about talking about neural leadership, which is a relatively new way of presenting leaders, but it's based on the neurobiology, which is in our systems, our minds, okay? So what happens is when events take place, when we are interacting with other people, when we are looking at other kinds of situations and working together, the neurobiology that's going on in our brains, that's basically really social and emotional, actually works with how we are interacting, how we are thinking, how we are being innovative, and really it talks about how we can improve performance and learning. If we understand the neurobiology, not only of ourselves, because it's important to understand who we are and what we're doing, but if we understand the neurobiology also of our team and our team members, we can help them with their focus, we can help them with their performance, we can help them with innovation, and that's really very important. So what does it mean to manage people with neuro leadership? Okay, firstly, we have to be aware of what's happening in our brains, okay? It's very basic, and what happens in our brains sometimes we don't have control over. But we need to know as a leader what that means. So when we recognize what's going on in the brain, we can help our team members respond appropriately, begin to participate more, to be more creative, to engage with one another, to follow their own initiative, to really make a difference in their team, in the lives of other people, as well as in themselves. Okay, so if we as leaders know how the brain works and the brain activates what's going on in the body, we can really help our team members respond in the best way possible so we can ensure positive, collaborative, as well as innovative outcomes. And this is so very important because what's going on in our brain is so basic. And yet, if we don't understand that, we may not know, we may not have the cues or know in advance what's going on when we get these kinds of responses like anger or somebody leaving or somebody not being able to communicate. And that's really important. So what happens? The domains that are affected, and we'll talk about that in a minute, are status, certainty, autonomy, relatedness, and fairness. And what's going on in our brain is basically an approach or an avoidance response. So when we feel threatened, whether it's a real threat or an imagined or a perceived threat, we move away. We can shut down. And that's really important. Yet when we feel rewarded in some way, whether it's positive feedback, whether it's knowing what's going on, we move toward that. We can be able to think more clearly. We can be able to act more appropriately. We can be able to be more involved and communicate. And that's important. So what does it mean in these domains? So firstly, with respect to status, status is our importance to others, how we feel about our relationship to others, okay? And when we feel threatened, we are not going to fare very well. So let's say you're actually giving somebody feedback as a leader. You have to be really careful that you're not threatening them, that you're giving them the best possible feedback. And that doesn't mean that you can't tell them certain things that are not going right, but do so in a positive way. What's really important also in terms of status is to make sure that you maximize the rewards, which means give people praise, give people opportunities to do better when they're performing well, when they're exceeding, when they're succeeding. Make sure that you let them know that. Make sure that they feel connected and that they feel included and really important. And that's part of the status. Okay, certainty. And this applies to all of us. We're leaders in our own lives, okay? We're leaders in our families. And certainty is about being able to predict the future or to know what's going to happen next. When we don't know, when we don't feel certain, we feel, again, it could be perceived or real, we feel threatened, we feel uncertain. And when that happens, we can shut down. So, with certainty, what do we need to do as leaders? We need to make sure that we are giving people cues and clues as to what's going to happen, to make sure that they know what's going to take place next, to make sure that they understand. And that's so important, even in terms of what you want to get done in your team. Okay, so it's really important that we outline some of this stuff so that there's clarity, so that they know what to expect, they know what to do, they know what their role is. And oftentimes when they do, they can do this so much easier. When they don't, then something happens in the brain that shuts off their ability to move forward. It can make them, again, draw back. It can make them not feel comfortable and be fearful because, again, they don't know what's going to happen next. Is something going to happen that they can't handle? Is something going to happen that doesn't make sense to them, that they won't be able to do? And that can cause so much uncertainty and can be fear-based. And that's really important. The next domain we're going to talk about is autonomy. And that is our sense of being able to control events, which is really important. Now, when I was the executive director and I got a phone call on a Saturday morning, which seemed very unusual from a team member whose manager was out that day. Okay, and they sounded panic stricken, and the team leader said, "We're about to go on an outing with our team, with our kids, our youth, and we don't have enough." I don't know whether it was baloney or whatever. What should we do? And I'm thinking in my head, wait a minute. I mean, this is a decision that they should be making by themselves rather than relying on the manager to be able to give them that information. But he sounded really nervous and really upset. I said, well, what would you do? What would you replace it with? What do you want to do? And once I asked those questions, this person was able to make a decision and feel more comfortable. And I said, well, that's a great idea. Go ahead and do that. I think that's wonderful. And they did. And they went on the outing without any other further challenge or problem. So autonomy, knowing that we have the ability to control what's going on, to even have a part in decision making, in figuring out what the next steps are, is critical to how we feel about ourselves and to how we're moving forward. So it's important, as again, as the leader, is to make sure that you allow people to manage. Micromanagement is not the best way on a day-to-day basis. To You have to be able to give your to give your people, to give your managers, to give your team members the responsibility and also the trust to be able to do this on their own. That is key, because otherwise they're going to get a phone call like I did about something that they really could handle themselves. But with micromanagement, it makes them feel that they're not capable, that they can't do it, that they have to always rely on somebody else. So it's important to be able to make sure that you don't micromanage, to give them the ability to be autonomous, to take responsibility and make choices that relate better to where they are and to the other members of their group. And that's key, because we like to make sure that we are valued, that our thoughts, that our actions are actually respected, and that we have the ability to do it on our own rather than having somebody constantly watch us because they don't trust us. Okay. And that's important. Relatedness is the next one. And that's how safe we feel with others. Are you a friend or a foe? And that works out very well in a team situation. Are you actually presenting opportunities for people to get together, for people to join together to do things as a team? Are you actually helping them feel part of the group, feel that they're a member, be able to actually be creative, be part of everything that's going on? And that's really important too, because the more related we feel, it can help people get more collaborative. It could help people actually not feel so lonely and not feel so isolated. And that's really our responsibility as leaders. And it's also important because there's so much virtual learning and virtual managing going on, to make sure that those team members that are virtual, that you're checking in with them so they don't feel lonely, so they don't feel isolated. Because when we do, we don't feel like we want to even contribute. We don't feel like we want to be a part of the team, and that's really important. Okay, what about fairness? Fairness is really about how we are perceiving the exchanges between people, between somebody and ourselves. And that's really important, again, as a leader. How are you handling your team? Do you show favoritism to one or two people that's evident so that the other people feel left out, feel not measuring up in some way? And it's really important to make sure that you provide opportunities so that everybody feels that they're contributing. Everybody feels that they're a part of the whole, that you're not singling out anybody. And during that, it's about, again, making sure that you're giving positive feedback to all of the individuals, to be able to recognize everybody, because everybody has something to share. And that's really so very important. Again, when we know that we are going to feel a part of a team, that we are going to feel valued, that we are going to be valued with, and that depends on our actions and interactions as a team leader. That's really important to how our team members approach any situation, including socialization, including decision making, including innovation, and so much more. And that's important. Okay, so neuro leadership, which is very new in many ways, but look at what it affects so much: decision making. When we again feel non-threatened, we are able to make decisions. What happens in the brain when we do feel threatened is that our ability to make decisions sometimes gets turned off. Our ability to actually be able to even move forward and be innovative shuts down. And that doesn't help when you're in many situations that you have to make decisions about your team, that they have to make decisions about other people that they're working with. And that's really key. Okay, something that's so overarching, and that is the ability for trusting. Do you provide a community, a sense of people being able to trust who you are? And not only that, that they recognize that you're trusting them, that you're trusting their work, that you're trusting their ability to serve, their ability to interact, their ability to make decisions. And that's very important. Okay. Also, self-leadership. I remember many years ago, I was working with someone, and he said, and this was somebody who was actually a leader, he said his best way of recognizing that he was doing a great job was to be able to help the people that he was helping, that he was serving, actually exceed him. And I had to think about that for a minute, and I thought, well, that doesn't make any sense, but really it does. As a leader, you want to grow your team members. You want to help them develop their interests, develop their strengths, develop all of their talents. And it's as our responsibility to give them the go ahead to be able to do that and to really cheer them on. Okay. Also, in terms of neuro leadership, it affects strategy, which again, if when we know that when somebody feels afraid or threatened, they're not going to participate. They're not going to strategize. They're going to shut down. They're not going to be and do everything that they need to be and do that you would like them to do to succeed and for the team to move forward. Also, in terms of neuro leadership, social interaction and collaboration. We have the ability when we're giving people rewards, and it not necessarily tangible reward. It could be good job. It could be recognizing their strengths, recognizing when they're innovating, recognizing their participation, when they feel part of a group, part of a team. And that's our responsibility as a leader. They're more likely to socialize, they're more likely to collaborate. And you have to be able to set up situations where that happens, create teams, create interactions together. I remember when I was the executive director of this comprehensive educational, clinical, residential, and also just all of that. I remember what we did was, firstly, we set up a staff appreciation day, which was really important. It was, and they never had that before, but I said, this is a way that we're going to honor our staff. We're going to let them know how much they're valued. And when I first started the job, I went around to all the different arenas: educational, residential, clinical, and community, and asked them questions like what do you need? What's important for you? What? And I was surprised at some of the answers. Firstly, I heard nobody's ever asked us that before. And I thought, well, that's really strange because you want your team, you want to be able to help them create their own self leadership. You want them to feel that their contribution, that their opinions matters, that what they see is important because they're the ones that are on the front lines is important for you because you may not be there. And you need to be able to make sure that you're doing that on a regular basis. And that's really, really important. So, what's so wonderful, and again, we need both women and men leaders, okay? But what's so wonderful is that women leaders already have some of this, okay? Women leaders are great communicators. They like to be able to lead rather than command. And again, when you're leading rather than commanding, you're allowing more participation. You're allowing people to feel that their voice matters, that their opinions are important, that they're able to contribute, that they're able to come up with ideas, even to give them resources, to not totally hold back everything, but let them make decisions. That's really very important. Women as leaders have incredibly strong interpersonal skills. And what that means is that they like to build teams that work together, that collaborate together. Their leadership style is more interactive so that, again, it's not just commanding, it's asking what's needed, it's asking for contribution so that everybody feels very much a part of a group. And when they feel very much a part of a group, there are team alliances that take place. You're building teams, you're actually building them to feel better about themselves, to grow their confidence, and to feel better about one another. And when they do that, there's more connection and there's more cooperation. And women leaders do that. Women are very much important about, they want to know how you're doing. They want you to participate. They actually know how to ask questions so that you are participating more, so that you are getting more involved and more engaged. And that's beautiful and really very, very important. So think about this. Think about this as a leader, okay? As a leader, whether it's in your home, in your family, as a leader in a organization or a team, or even leading yourself. What are you doing to help build alliances with other people? Now, there's been research even about children, okay? And some of the research is when children feel, and this is again about avoidance versus moving forward, when children feel that they know what to expect, and that's important as any, whether you're a woman leader or a male leader, when they know what to expect, they feel more confident, they feel better about themselves, they feel able to move forward. And that's really incredibly important. But that doesn't just apply to children, it applies to all of us. Think about that with respect to yourself. And think about that in terms of your communication style, your leadership style. What are you doing? Are you allowing people to build alliances? Are you building that sense of cohesion, that sense of cooperation? Are you letting people recognize their worth and their value so that their contributions matter? When you do that, more innovation can take place because people feel ready to take risks, ready to be able to present something that hasn't been presented before. But you have to set the stage and you have to set the ability for that to happen. So our style as women is we're more inclusive. We want people to be more of part of a team, to collaborate. We're interested in asking questions, in finding out what people's needs are, where they are. It's about consensually building a team, which means having people be part of it, having people make decisions, having people contribute ideas and allowing those ideas. It's one thing to be able to let people contribute and then you don't even follow any of them, which says to your team members, well, that was nice, but we're not going to use it anyway. It's about allowing that to take place so that you're not only letting those ideas sprout forth, but you're utilizing them to help again build a stronger team and a collective vision. Oftentimes, leaders just, it's their vision. Now, it's important to have a vision, okay? I'm not knocking that at all. But it's also important as you move forward to see how that vision may change, okay? A little bit to also include the vision of your team members. Cooperation, I've said this again and again, but cooperation is so important. And women leaders do that very well. They want people to get along. They want to see more cohesion. They want to see people collaborating. And so they do that to build teams. Women are actually building more than just being linear. They build systems, and their approach is more of a holistic. And when that happens, their ability to look at different areas, to be able to look at different systems even, and see how they can align with one another is incredibly important. Be able to really sense what's going on in again, not just a linear way, but to pull from many different directions, which actually could create more innovation and more ability to see the larger picture rather than step by step. It's so important, and I've seen this happen again and again. It's so important as leaders to be able to acknowledge our mistakes and our errors. So often, and you know this, even in your own lives, there's somebody who has made a mistake, but rather than take the responsibility, rather than own up to the mistake, they actually point their finger at somebody else and blame somebody else. Well, most often, or more often, I should say, women leaders are more apt to acknowledge their errors and acknowledge their mistakes, which again, we're human. We make mistakes. And that's also when we do that, it allows our team members to feel that it's okay. You know, we make mistakes, but again, it's about seeing them in more of a truthful, authentic light as leaders. And that's so important. We need to be authentic. We need to be truthful. We need to be able to look at our mistakes and be able to come forth with them, okay? One of the most outstanding traits of women leaders is that we understand what people are going through. It's kind of empathy. We can empathize with what they're feeling, with what they're going through in an experiential level. And when we do that, it makes the team member or feel that you got me, you understand, which again allows them to feel good about who they are and also allows them to trust more the leader that's there, because we need to know what's going on with our team. There are going to be times when they're challenged, times when, again, just like we make mistakes and errors, when they're doing that as well. And we need to be able to make sure that we are empathizing, that we are there to help, not to overdo it, but to be there when we're needed. And when that happens, when we're empathizing, we're more likely to get people who come to us with a problem that they feel that they need help with, rather than feeling that they can't come to us because we're going to be critical or we're not going to be understanding. And that's really important. We also know that women's brains are able to do multitasking, and that's beautiful. And we are more flexible in thought and actions, and we're really more able to attune to an employee's feelings as well as their experiences. And again, when we do that, when we create the place for that to happen, we're more trusted, we're more genuine, and we have more tolerance, more passion, and more compassion for the people that we're serving. And that's really important. And when we do that, we allow our team members to feel comfortable with our leadership style, comfortable with who we are, and comfortable to be able to share. And that's really important.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Joanne, for letting us know about the empowering woman today. So we are running out of time. So I can
Thank you so much.
yeah, I can understand, but we are running out of time. So other speaker sessions is already on their particular time. So yes, so if people have questions, so they will message you personally. So or you can see the messages and you can answer them later. Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much, Dr. Joanne, for joining this call. Hope you understand.
Thank you.
So please join our next speaker, Sharon. Speaker Sharon. Thank you.